Hello and welcome to GG Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by BetMGM, and we are on to day 3 of our Cheltenham Festival 2024 preview with myself, Kate Tracey, Andrew Mount and Dave Young. So again, the lads have been giving us some really big price horses so far. Hopefully that can continue into day 3, because we're going to begin with the Grade 1 at Turner's Novices Chase of 5 rods and over 2 mile 4 at 130, and BetMGM have it priced up currently as Factor File as the 7-4 market leader. One horse that we're actually, from the Willie Mullins Cup, pretty sure where he's going to go, yet he's still heading the market in this one though. Grey Dawning in next at 5-2, 3-1 Ginny's Destiny, 4-1 Gaelic Warrior, 9-2 Bar about the remainder. So, Andrew, who goes to the Turners and who wins it?
Next year's Gold Cup winner, Grey Dawning, wins this. You know I love him. He's got a fantastic attitude. Bear in mind, he wiped the floor with Ginny's Destiny in the Grade 2 Leamington Spa Hurdle at Warwick last year, winning by 5 lengths. When I think he was a 9-2 or 5-1 shot, trading at double those odds in running. He often sort of looks beat or looks briefly in trouble and then rallies and wins. Now in his career, check out his hurdles debut and his chase debut when he needed the experience. And he's won 7 of his 9 starts, second by 3/4 of a length in the other, when making a mistake when runner-up to Ginny's Destiny at Cheltenham, and then falling in the other behind Apple Rock at Aintree when travelling well. Harry Skelton was convinced he'd have won that race. I mean, Grey Dawning is a fantastic horse. The only slight doubt is that he's a hold-up horse, and we know that the new course at Cheltenham, where we are on day 3, is a front runner's benefit generally, particularly in this race. And we know that Ginny's Destiny is going to make the running. So I think it's between the pair. I know they're favourite and second favourite, but at current prices, you're probably going to get sort of 10, 12 to 1, the computer straight forecast payoff. But I think Grey Dawning will exact revenge on Ginny's Destiny for that course and distance defeat.
Yeah. And finally, a race, Dave, where the British, we actually have a strong hand. It's taken us to the Thursday, the first race on the Thursday, but the Prestbury Cup, it may just start to turn at this point, though. We've got the top 2 in the betting pretty much here if we take out Fact File, who we're pretty sure is going to go for the Brown Advisory. But otherwise, we're doing well.
Are we though?
I mean, for goodness sake.
No, I think Grey Dawning's got a genuine, I don't want to say obvious chance in there. Like, I know there'll be people that might want to take him on, but he's a very good horse. Deserves to be where he is in the market. Gaelic Warrior definitely needs to talk about for the fact that he's been odds on for this race at some point in the season. And yes, he's been beaten by Factor Foul last time out and absolutely swamped. But we talked about the fact that he was a bit upset in the prelims. He did jump straight enough, to be fair to him, going the wrong way round. He's like if he does come here, the 4-1 that's currently available about him will be, I guess, hoovered up. I know we've still got the worries about him going this way round, but he's a weapon. He's put up some serious performances himself in this. He would have a chance. Facile Vega, we're touched on in the article. We don't know if he's even going to come to Cheltenham, but if he does, they've alluded that he might come here, but he's in and around the same sort of
just looking at the latest betting now, I think he might actually. He does seem to have shortened up while we've been recording this pod.
Exactly, because they're listening in. They know that we say that these horses have got chances, but like they're short enough. Iroko, there's been positive news that's come about him. He's only had the 1 chase start, hasn't he? And then you start thinking of the prices, right? You've got Ginny's Destiny, Grey Dawning, Gaelic Warrior, Facile Vega, Iroko. All of them are under 5-1 at the moment. It's impossible to have a book on the day where they're all going to be that sort of price. There's going to be some stuff that's going to move about. Another one that I do think is going to move about, though, and the one that I like at a bigger price, there's a small chance this horse runs the Arkle. But Gordon Elliott said that Zanahiyr is going to run in the Turners. And I love Zanahiyr for multiple reasons. One of the things a couple of people have said to me recently as well is, well, with Constitution Hill coming out, surely he'll go champion hurdle. He's been taken out of that today, so that's not happening. He has been third twice in champion hurdles, right? The first time he was disqualified for a banned substance. I don't read into that too much, but he was third in a champion hurdle. He then fell when he was favourite behind fell when he was like sort of level with Epperton, wasn't he? At Aintree over 2 mile 4 when stepped up in trip. He was well bet that day, probably would have won. And then of course Constitution Hill stepped up, the horse that everyone's saying it's complete and utter madness that and it's a shame that he's not running in a Gold Cup. And Zanahiyr got within a couple of lengths of Constitution Hill in like Aintree over the middle trip. Now I know it wasn't Constitution Hill's best day, but Zanahiyr is a very, very good horse. He comes alive this time of the year. His jumping is questionable, I suppose, but it's not terrible. He's a novice at the end of the day, and he made his novice chase debut in December, so he's entitled to be like improving a bit more, I guess, rapidly than some of the other horses this season. I think he's got a bit of an engine. I think this time of year is when he peaks. I think I just can't believe that he's 25 to 1 at the time of recording in a place. I think it's absurd. I know there might be a little bit of depth in there, but I do not see how this horse is outside the first three. I think this is his optimum trip. He will be okay over fences. And even if you go back to earlier this season, his form, he ran behind Bob Ollinger, didn't he? We saw what he went and did in the real kill. Like, Bob was back a little bit. People are saying it's a shame that he's not even on a champion hurdle. And Zanahiyr was only, I think, maybe a length behind him. So there's enough form in the book to suggest that Zanahiyr is a serious horse. Couple of 161 RPRs, I think it was, in his 2 thirds in champion hurdles. I can't believe he's 25 to 1. I think the price is completely and utterly wrong. So Zanahiyr is a relatively strong each way selection in the Turners. And again, same as Matata, definitely could win this race.
I'm so pleased because as you started to say, horse at a bigger price, you said he is in the Arkle, but there's a small chance of going there. I thought this is going to be Zanahiyr. Then you said Gordon Elliott. I thought this is going to be Zanahiyr. And yep, I'm so pleased that you came down on him. He's, again, another horse where I just feel that his career hasn't gone exactly the way that it really should have done since his juvenile days, because he was sort of one of those typical horses. Yes, he was beaten then in the Triumph Hurdle back in 2021. And then I can always forgive a horse there next season because they always just seem to lose their way a little bit. I normally like to see them going over fences. I was slightly concerned, though, that last season they didn't go over fences with him. And perhaps it is that bit of jumping frailties for him. He's a Nathaniel and, and going over fences in that way. He hasn't looked an overly natural horse. And maybe that's why they've delayed it so much. But, they were mixing up about his trips. So at one point, he looked as though he might just be a potential stayers hurdle candidate. But I never really liked him over the 2 miles. I thought it was very typical juvenile like that, where he was never really going to want to see 2 miles ever again then. So the 2.5, I'm hoping he'll go for the Turners. Plenty of experience, plenty of course form as well, as you said. Really good form also, 25 to 1. If he just brushes up that jumping that little bit in what looks an open event, I also thought he was the only play for me in the Turners. Right, the 2:10. My favourite race, the best race of the entire week. I don't care what anyone has to say. This is the Pertemps final, of course, the Premier Handicap Hurdle. 5 rods and over 3 miles, wide open. We've got 8 to 1, the same price, about 4 runners in here. So Dave, Pertemps, good luck.
Yeah, definitely do need some luck in this race, didn't you? I try to get excited about the Pertemps. I go back and watch the qualifiers every year over and over again, and since it's become top 4, I don't really trust so much that you can visually see the horses that do it. I made the mistake with Maxim last year. I backed Chantry House for this race a long time ago, and he's a terribly short price now. I know he's a 10-year-old, but I still think he's very, very well handicapped. I know JP's got Iker Allen as well, but I don't like these horses that come to the Pertemps final when they haven't run for a long time or they qualified really early in the season. Salvador Ziggy did really well in the race last year, but didn't win. So it's painful because he's short price, and I feel like at the same time I wouldn't even be recommending anybody bets him. I feel like even if he places at the price, it's probably not worth the risk that are attached. But I think Chantry House has got a feasible chance of winning the Pertemps, but I feel bad even saying it out loud. So that's not a good sign, is it?
It's always a good sign. That's it. When you try and sort of bring it all back, but it's too busy going. But you did talk about him earlier on in the season when he was a bigger price again. But obviously, a lot of people have cottoned on to that then. Chantry House, and he is pretty short now, 17 to 2 with BetMGM. Andrew, Pertemps, greatest race of them all. Who wins?
Yeah, I'm with you. This is one of my favourite races. I do enjoy this. The last 2 years, I've bet Mill Green each way, and at 20 to 1 plus. Last year, he traded at 1.5 in running. The year before, he traded at 1.7. It seems a bit mad having a place pot banker in a 22-runner handicap hurdle, particularly now he's a 12-year-old. But yeah, Mill Green, I think, will run another solid race. He's run some good races this season, and he's lightly raced for his age. Anna Bunina is another interesting one. She's a spring horse. I think I've tipped her for the last 3 Scottish champion hurdles in April. Yeah. She's finished first, second, and third in those races. Now, although she's never won before April, she tends to do her best in late spring, early summer. She has run well in the county hurdle twice before. Last year, she was 9th, beaten 7 lengths by Favois. In 2021, She was 125 to 1, only got beaten 5 lengths in 8th place, I think. Now, since then, she's been better over longer trips. So now trying a longer trip at the Cheltenham Festival at a time of year when she tends to come to hand. She's also in the Coral Cup, for which she's 50 to 1. I probably should have mentioned her for that race, but I didn't. But yeah, she could come here and run a big race. And another Nicky Henderson horse, Bold Endeavour. It might seem strange because if you said what's his ideal conditions, you'd say right-handed track and fast ground. He was going left-handed on what will probably be soft ground. But you look at his record on the new course at Cheltenham, second to White Rhino, 3 miles on soft, and second by 3/4 of a length, 2.5 miles on good. So he's going to come down the near side. So that sort of right-handed tendency will put him on the rail. If that's the place to be, he could plod on into the frame. Bear in mind, he ran the Coral Cup last year on the old course, finished 5th behind Langadan, beaten 11 lengths in a field 26, 22 to 1, staying on very strongly. He needs further than that 2.5 mile trip. So he could go well. So yeah, a couple of Nicky Henderson ones and Anna Bunina, all big prices.
I'm so pleased you said Anna Bunina 33 to 1. She's my play in here as well. I really, really like her. I mean, I love this race because everyone gets the chance to feel shrewd for a few weeks or a few months because everyone thinks they found the plot job. And then you get to the race itself and no one's happy. But yeah, Anna Bunina, though, for me as well, to hopefully win it again for the mares. Also, really talented mare and on song, as you just said, Andrew, winning the Scottish Champion Hurdle in 2022. And I thought that was a really good renewal that year also. Now, she's won plenty of races since then, but I just wonder nowadays, as an 8-year-old, if 3 miles is really what she wants. She faced it for the first time last time out, qualifying for this race, finishing 4th at Musselburgh and staying on nicely from off of the pace there. So she's rated the same at 140. And hopefully, I think that she can win off of a mark this high also. Now, of course, she is in the mares hurdle, or she was anyway, but you also said, Andrew, there that she is also in the Coral Cup, but I'm hoping she still just goes here anyway. And yeah, she can run another good race at Cheltenham then as well for the John McConnell team. So yeah, Anna Bunina for me likewise then in the Pertemps. Right, we move on to the Ryanair Chase, a grade 1, 5 years and over, 2 mile 4 at 250. Now again, yet another race that has just been thrown wide open. El Fabiola, your 7-4 market leader in here, but he's going to go Champion Chase. Banbridge, will he even run if the ground is exactly what we're predicting to still be soft even by the Thursday? Envoy LN to defend his crown, 130. 9-2 bar about the remainder, Andrew. So the Ryanair, I didn't know what to do with this.
Yeah, after he won last time at Kempton, beating Pete Dory, of course, has won a grade 1 subsequently. I thought Banbridge will be a short price for this, and a good thing, assuming it dries out, it's sort of good to soft or quicker. But yeah, if it's genuinely soft or even worse, he could struggle, and I'd leave him alone at the price. Stage Star, having won the Turners last year over course and distance, is likely to go well from the front. We've seen course and distance form often come to the fore in this race previously. Conflated was half interesting despite those unseats the last twice, given that his 2 runs at the Cheltenham Festival produced a 3rd to Galopin Des Champs in last year's Gold Cup, and a fall in this race behind Allaho when he looked set for 2nd place. I'll say that because he was my bet without the favourite that day, and it was probably a toss of a coin job when he came down. Ahoy Senor, we know he goes well in the spring. He's had 6 runs in March and April, 3 wins, 2 seconds, and a 4, so he could go well. And Hitman was my pick in this last year each way. And I bankered him to finish 2nd with anything else to win or finish 3rd in the total exacta, and the total trifecta, sorry. And with Shishkin in 4th place and going nowhere, according to commentator Mark Johnson, it looked simply a case of how much I'd win. But unfortunately, Shishkin rallied and got 3rd place. I think Hitman could go well. I mean, he was 2nd to Shishkin last year. Finishing 2nd is what he tends to do. I think it's 7 of his last 19 starts he's finished 2nd. So I certainly won't put you off Hitman each way. But as for a win selection, I'll go Stage Star to bounce back despite pulling up last time.
Yes, and like I said, I think you can forgive that pulling up last time out as well, from what plenty of people have been saying about the form he was in that race, and subsequently as well. So Stage Star then about 5 to 1 for Andrew for the Ryanair. Dave, who do you like?
Yeah, so it's kind of a similar feeling as the Pertemps race, where I've got my mind set on one single horse. But this time round, as opposed to Chantry House, like this is very much, I'm more than happy to suggest and recommend this as a bet. BetMGM, our top price on this horse as well at 14-1, and that horse is Protektorat. I think this trip is going to be ideal for him. He ticks loads of boxes. We know the amount of class that he's got. The run at Newbury where he set things up for Shishkin, had he have not done the donkey work, he probably could have finished in front of Hitman. I know what Andrew's saying about him. I do like Hitman. I think he's a nice horse. Clearly got plenty of ability, but Protektorat, I think, can easily reverse the form of that. And it might be that Protektorat comes first and Hitman comes second to him in this race. Now, there are, like, Banbridge obviously has the question marks about the ground type stuff, but obviously with non-runner money back, you could bet him and he might shorten if they decided to run him. But that was his first 160s performance that he ran last time. So while he's got that number in there, which is what it typically takes to win a Ryanair, he's yet to back that up. And I know obviously the winners come out since and run well and won a decent race, but he's got to go and do it himself for me. So I respect him, but he's 3-1. Protektorat's 14s, isn't he? Stage Star's putting up has to worry me a little bit, and he's achieved his numbers in like handicaps, but that's me being very harsh. But again, he's 9-2 versus Protektorat's proven 14-1. And then a few of the other ones that are there, like your Envoy, as much as he's an absolute legend, Capodano, as much as that Cotswold Chase was much better, and Conflated, as much as they've dodged the cross country to come here to try and win it for the owners, they're 10-year-olds, and 10-year-olds, I just think they're too old to win this race. So Protektorat ticks all the boxes that I want him to. Protektorat is 14-1. I think Protektorat goes real close in the Ryanair. I think he's a pretty solid each way bet at 14-1.
Yeah, he has been quite forgotten about, hasn't he, at 14-1 for a horse that is just sort of running himself back into form as well. And the setback down and trip really should suit him. But that was the Ryanair chase, perhaps a good opportunity then for betting angles. Now, the Stayers Hurdle, this mad race. Grade 1 then, 4-year-olds and over 3 miles at 3:30. Now, Teahupoo is currently heading the way as the 9-4 market leader. Irish Point, we're probably thinking he's going to go down the champion hurdle route now, but he's still second in 7-2, 11-2 Crambo, 9-1 bar about the remainder. Dave, you're quite bullish in this one.
Yeah, and I'll try and keep this as quick as possible, and I will, because I could talk about this horse from now until he wins the Stayers Hurdle. Teahupoo is one of my best bets of the entire week. I still think he's an okay price now. He's one of these horses that in my head I could run any simulation of the race. He cannot get beat in my eyes. I think Davy Russell gave a few bad rides last year. And again, I know I've said about not wanting to crab jockeys, but that is obviously me crabbing a jockey's ride there. But I feel like he came out of retirement, didn't he? Jack was gone. Jack's ridden this horse a few times. He beat Quilixalos as a juvenile. He beat Honeysuckle for the first time for any horse to do it. And then he beat Impere Pass the second coming in the Hatton's Grace. They've kept him fresh for the race this year. So you want to see something different if a horse is to do something different, right? If he's going to place in the race last year and you want him to go one better, you'd expect him to do something different. But I think people are being really harsh on him. He was only 6 last year. When he first stepped up to 3 miles and tried it, they just went a walk for the first circuit. Somerville Boy was in second. He didn't really confirm that he stays the 3 miles. Now, his race last year, he was staying on. I think if he'd have got a bit of a gap 2 out and had a bit of a better ride, he would have been able to win the race. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that he would have won that. I think if everyone watches it back, they wouldn't disagree with that. So I do think he does stay. I know everyone says that he's just a mudlark. Well, we've got the bad ground anyway, but I don't think ground would have been a problem. And you've touched on Irish Point going to the champion hurdle. It's not that it's just the same owners. It's not that it's just the same yard. It's the same yard and the same owners. They clearly know that Teahupoo is the winner. And I think in any other situation, everyone would look at this and say, that is a tip in itself, isn't it, that Teahupoo wins the Stayers Hurdle. Thaleem's not here. Gaelic Warrior was sent chasing. It's just fully set up for this horse to win. I have zero excuses. I do not possibly see how Teahupoo gets beat. He's the same age as Crambo. I don't think he's that exposed at the trip. And I just think Teahupoo's an absolute beast of a horse. I just think he wins. I mean, he is the favourite, but he's one of the more solid favourites of the week, yet he's not the shortest price favourite of the week, is he? Teahupoo wins the Stayers for many years to come.
I did promise you it was going to be bullish from Dave, and exactly that. Exhibit A there, 9-4 then about Teahupoo. It's true what you say, actually, when you say about Connection, saying it's probably a tip in itself that he's the one that is selected to go here. So maybe it's taken out of my hands as I put Irish Point up at the start of the season for the Stayers Hurdle. So I'm slightly sick, Andrew, but who do you like?
Yeah, Teahupoo is on my shortlist as well. I mean, you just back all the 6 and 7-year-olds in this race in the past 10 years. You'd have hit the winner 8 times from 59 bets, made a profit of almost 60 quid. Now, with Teahupoo, it's ground dependent, in my opinion. Proform have a going allowance based on the times of the races. They have Teahupoo 7 from 7 on what they rate as heavy ground. Never raced on soft, 1 from 3 on good to soft, and 0 from 3 on good. So it's a case of the softer the better. We know he goes well when fresh. They've kept him up for 102 days since that reappearance win. And if the ground is as deep as they suspect it's going to be, then I think he's going to take the beating. Crambo's solid enough as a sort of backup place spot inclusion. And I was half interested in Buddy 1 because the last 5, 6 or 7 7-year-olds to prep in Grade 1 company produced 4 winners, 12 to 1 twice, 10 to 1 and 4 to 1. So say Teahupoo, Crambo, Buddy 1 all running Grade 1 company last time, as did Felmer. But Buddy 1 ideally would need sort of good or worse, good to soft ground. So I think, Teahupoo beats Crambo into second. There's your forecast.
There's your forecast. And I remember you saying about Buddy 1 earlier on in the season that he was a massive price for stay aside. He said if he didn't disgrace himself, can't remember what race it was for now. I think it must have been Fairyhouse then, was it? He said that potentially then for him, for the stay aside, it must have been the Hatton's Grace, I'm guessing. But yeah, he's a big price though. But again, in agreement there with Teahupoo, towards ahead of the market, and then Crambo to finish second for Andrew. Right, to move on to the 410. This is the Plate Handicap Chase, the Premier Handicap, 5-year-olds and over to mile 4. So again, super competitive contest as we always expect then in this one, where it's currently 4 to 1 for Billy, 11 to 2 Theatre Man, 10 to 1 Let's Be Clear About It. So Andrew, back to you for the, I think it's called the Trusted Trader. Yeah, the Trusted Trader Plate.
Yeah, not sponsored by Noel and Liam or Damon Albarn of Blur fame, this one, but
even better.
Yeah, again, I mean, I did look at various angles for this race. New court, so front runners have sort of traditionally done quite well in this race, so it's not been a great angle in the last few years. And one of the simplest ones is to look for last time out winners. In the last 10 renewals, 6 winners from 42 won their most recent start, including 4 of the last 5. And it's also in the blank years, it was also pretty useful at getting you through the place part as well. So now if you look at those last time out winners by the size of the field last time out, those who won in a field of 11 or more runners, 5 winners from 12 bets in 10 years, which is a great strike rate, a profit of £39. There's 2 qualifiers, GA Law and Madara. So yeah, I'd be sort of looking at Galore, looking at Madara, sort of 12 to 1, 14 to 1 at the moment. My 2 against the field, but it's a race I need to do more work on when I see the final decks.
Oh, I was really hoping those stats were going to go in my way. When you said about last time out winners, I was like, yay, okay, good. And then what was it, 11 plus runners in that field? Not
I mean, just so they've been, conditioned, to run the big field. I think recently that was the angle.
Oh, well, my horse managed to beat 5 rivals last time at 6-runner field. And that is Felicien in here. I'm hoping he's going to go for this one. He's got a few entries across the week, but I really think that this is the race that he wants, and this is the trip that he wants. And I'm just expecting the source to have his big day in the sun. He's always looked due it, and hopefully it'll be this year's Cheltenham Festival, because he's always a horse that I felt slightly sorry for because he won his debut in France in March 2021 as a 4-year-old. And that was just a nightmare time for him to go and win, because you knew that he lost his novice status then going into the next season, but still only a 4 rising 5-year-old back then. So it was a nightmare for him to be in, and you knew it was going to be an uphill struggle. And he did sort of, to an extent, struggle himself, but he did still do well. But he still managed to remain lightly raced, and there was only so much he was going to be able to achieve thereafter. Anyway, so now is his time to strike. Unexposed horse still, just the 8 career starts to his name, 4 over fences, only once in a handicap when favourite for the 2022 Coral Cup. So I was keen to see what chase mark he was going to get, actually, because I still think that this one of 146 is feasible for him to overcome, because it very much falls in line with his hurdle mark. So yeah, Felicien for me is about 14 to 1 with BetMGM. But Dave, who'd you like in the Trusted Trader Plate?
Well, mine also won last time out, but it actually beat even fewer runners than yours. I mean, I feel like it's boring. Maybe I've got a bit wonky in this because I know I've tipped up a couple of favourites, but I've gone for some big price ones in the graded races and shorties in the handicaps. Krabilly is just criminally underrated, and I mean underrated as in officially. How is this horse 140? He got an RPR 150 for that last one. It was 144 for the time before. He fell in that November novice handicap chase where Ginny's Destiny won, but he would have won the race. It was it wasn't. I don't know, it wasn't like an obvious error or mistake that he made. He almost just sort of crumpled a little bit, or almost like Galopin de Champs-esque. He got a 148 for that figure. Go back to last season when he was hurdling, he gave Crambo weight, and I was only beaten he was beaten a dozen lengths, but he gave him some weight. Crambo's being talked about for a stay as hurdle now. He was behind Liberty Hunter, but he gave Liberty Hunter loads of weight. Liberty Hunter's rated like half a stone bigger than him. Just looks like an absolute handicap blot. Unfortunately for JP McManus, he already owned this horse. He hasn't had to buy him just to win a race at the festival. We've had 3 winners in the last 6, I think, that have been favourite for this race. I think he's miles ahead of his mark. I know obviously you need some luck in a big Cheltenham Festival handicap, so it's good that you guys have put some selections and valid points of all of them as well. But this horse is just a stone well in. So Krabilly just wins. The 4-to-1 top price about him, I don't think terrible either. So yeah, Krabilly definitely wins the plate.
Yeah, I got the impression they were slightly gutted he won the last day at Exeter as well. We're fearful what that was going to do then to his mark, but only up £1. So I think that they've managed to save that on that basis. But yeah, Krabilly, he does look like he is pretty well in. Like I say, for all that, you do need a bit of luck in running all the same. Right, we move on to the 450. This is for Grade 2 mares, Novices hurdle, 4-year-olds and over 2 mile 1, and a really good looking renewal of this race as well, where we've got the potential superstar that is Brighter Days Ahead as your 13-to-8 market leader, with the Gordon Glint, the turn that I didn't think I was going to be using building up to this festival, but she currently heads away. Jade de Grugy 9-4 in next. Dysart Enos waving again at that little Union Jack for us 4-1 in next. So Dave, mares Novices hurdle, I thought this was a cracker.
It really is. It needs to be sponsored by Dulux next year, because the Gordon Glint would be a lovely shade to make my lounge, I think.
What shade would you say that was? What
Well,
shade? What colour?
Gigginstown, wouldn't it be burgundy?
It would be a burgundy
with a
shade,
white
yeah.
star in the middle of it, no matter how you painted it. But yeah, he's talking, saying all the right things about this mare, isn't he? And she's looked good as well. I think this season, in terms of like progression with novices, she's gone on a real big trajectory. She for me definitely deserves to be favourite. Whether or not she deserves to be quite a short 6-4, I wouldn't believe, but then you might want to take that as a positive, because the fact that she's a lot shorter than I would make her, but I still do fancy her. She probably is going to be real good in this. You've got to respect to Willie Munning's mare. Jade de Grugy's done very little wrong. She looks a proper horse. Feel a little bit sorry for Dysart Enos in the fact that she has got 2 proper ones to go in against this year. We've had some really good renewals in the past, and then we've had a couple of maybe not so good ones, but I just think I know he's gone to avoid the £5 pennant with Dysart Enos, and he knows far more than I do as a trainer. But from an outsider looking in, I would value race experience more than the £5. I think when she goes in against these 2 proper, really fast girls, she's not going to have learned to race as much. Now, she might be able to do it without having to learn it, but I think she would have gained more experience by getting that £5 penalty, or she could have avoided the penalty the same way she's done, but actually just running some like tougher or more competitive races. So I think I do like Dysart Enos as a horse, but I just think unfortunately she's bumped into 2 real good mares, and I think Brighter Days Ahead is the best of those. But she's plenty short enough, but I do think she wins.
Yeah, like I say, she has got short enough, because she's been one of the biggest talking horses coming into this year's festival. Always has an effect on their price as a result of that. Andrew, 13-8, would that interest you about Brighter Days Ahead, or were you keen to take her on anyway?
Well, it's great, isn't it? We, as punters, we spend hours studying the form. We look at sectional timings, speed figures, gait analysis, breeding, and then because Gordon Elliott had a glint in his eye when he's discussing this one, everyone's falling over themselves to tobacco. So
scrap all the facts and stats.
Yeah, world's gone mad. So I've no strong opinion in this race, but I did like the price of Springtime Promise, the Fergal O'Brien second string. She's had 3 runs for the yard, won all of them, latterly in a Grade 2 mares race at Sandown. The last 4 winners of this race, all won in Grade 2 mares only company: 16-1, 15-2, 5-1, and 9-2. And last year's winner was, I think, one of only 2 who qualified in the race. The other one was like a 200-to-1 shot. So I thought, she's gone under the radar. I think she was 100 to 1 a week or two ago. I think she's only about 40s or 50s now, but I thought she might run a good race each way.
Yeah, definitely a big price then for her as well in that one. I'm gonna have to stick with Dysa Enos. I've liked her the whole way through because I've been following her obviously, and just how shrewd Fergal O'Brien has been at placing her the whole way through. I feel like I can't jump off this bandwagon now. And to be fair, I'm probably getting a more feasible price about her as a result of the contraction in the price of Brighter Days Ahead because of said aforementioned Gordon Glint. But hopefully the Fergal flicker will hopefully be the way that I'm going to go with now. I swear.
Wondered where you were going with that.
I also wondered where I was going to go. I didn't tee that up in my own head, and I was thinking this is a dangerous game to be playing, Kate. Right? Yeah, the Fergal flicker then for me with Dysa Enos, because as I say, yes, she's getting the £5. It may not make any difference if Brighter Days Ahead is this absolute worldie, as everyone's been saying, but Dysa Enos has actually beaten the boys twice over hurdles. I think that's good experience for her to now be putting to good use, as well as that course and distance winning form. So I'm trying not to be influenced. I'm trying to hold my own then and to side with the Brit that is Dysa Enos in the hope that she can shrug off that really likeable Irish pair who are currently heading the way. Right, the final race on day 3 is going to be the Kim Muir Amateur Jockeys Handicap Chase 5-year-olds and over 3 mile 2 at 550. Now we have a strong hand for JP McManus in this towards the head of the market. So Andrew, the Kim Muir race that you found the winner of a few years back now, was it a couple years back? I've lost track, but a decent price winner of it.
Chambord, was it 2 years ago? Yes, it's a tricky one. The profile seems to change. It always used to be a case of just for an honest plodder who had a lot of sort of seconds, thirds, and fourths in its form figures, who was a safe conveyance for an amateur rider. So the profile does seem to have changed in recent years. We're getting more sort of like lightly raced younger horses winning, and again, it used to be a graveyard for Irish trained runners. Not the case anymore. Gordon Elliott and his alter ego Denise has farmed it in recent years. So I wouldn't sort of be as confident in the race as I was previously. I was quite interested in Forward Plan. You would make money just backing any horse who ran in this after a recent outing within the last 28 days. And of course, Forward Plan, who I tipped when he was just chinned in the Great Yorkshire Chase. I didn't back at Kempton last time when he won the what was formerly the Racing Post Chase. He's got a great record in Handicap Chase Company, and he could go in again now that he's sort of proven himself on soft ground. So I'll go Forward Plan, but I need to do more work on the race.
Yeah, nice price then about that one as well. About 16 to 1 then for Forward Plan, but yeah, wide open contest. So Dave, did you have any sort of horses nailed down at this stage?
No, it's a race that I over the years I just don't really get that excited about it, to be honest with you. There was a point where I got excited about Mr. Coffee in it, I think, but that's got to give him a mention at some point, haven't we? But I know your way you're thinking got the marker 145, so hit the ceiling. Percival de Gaulois got absolutely slapped by the BHA handicapper, which is why he's not going to run now. Gavin Cromwell's not going to run him. Good Time Johnny got slapped by the handicapper as well, didn't he? But Christ, he's not been doing anything the whole entire season. If they do still run him after he's got such a significant increase, not saying that would be telling, but it would just be bizarre. If you like, again, Andrew says we put the hours in for the form study and all that type of stuff. I don't know. I'll be skeptical in that sort of thing. Firm Footings was really well touted for the race, and now that he doesn't come, Cool Survivors sort of retracted in price. It just feels like the market knows what it's doing in him more than I would possibly do. Bow to Greatness for Ben Paulding was one that was on my radar. He's about 14 to 1 poke. Might fill the frame, but it wouldn't be a confident selection, but something for the content, right?
We should mention, I'm not tipping Mr. Coffee to finish second, but he did finish second in this race too, Chambord, when he was 5 to 1 joint favourite a couple of years ago.
That was my nap of the podcast, was Andrew to get the first shout in for Mr. Coffee. So my podcast nap hasn't landed because Dave was the one who got the first mention of Mr. Coffee to finish second in here. But I'm glad that both of you have covered a horse that may as well sponsor the podcast by this point. Mr. Coffee in there at 25 to 1 to finish second, probably yet again. Right, that is the end of day 3. So nap time then. Dave, your nap of day 3.
I mean, I feel really mean that I didn't say Rapper in the Kim Muir because he'll probably go and win it. I won't be napping Rapper. I think it's pretty obvious who I'm going to nap. Comes in the stairs hurdle, wins it for the next 6 or 7 years. It's Teahupoo.
Teahupoo then in the stayers hurdle for Dave's nap. We could have all predicted that, to be fair. Andrew, your nap.
I'm going Great Dawning, next year's Gold Cup winner in the Turners.
Okay, next year's Gold Cup winner. And I'll go some Felicien then in the plate. I don't care what he goes on to for next year because this is his day in the sun. Right. Your lively outsider, Andrew. Who are you siding with?
I could pick any one of the three I mentioned for the Pertemps, but I'll go for bold Endeavour. Leave Anna Bunina to you.
Thank you, because that is exactly where I was going to go. Anna Bunina then lively outside about 33-1. Then also in the Pertemps, very courteous of Andrew. Dave?
Zanahiyr in the Turners would be my lively outsider. In the small chance that he goes to the Arkle, which I don't think he will, he'll come here, then I'll just put one up for the, well, I'll put Protektorat up for the viewers as well. Like I fancy both of them strong each way.
There you go. A couple for you as well then for the lively outsiders. But I'm pleased that he said about Zanahiyr anyway. And hopefully he does go for the 2.5 mile race because that's what we are both anticipating. Right. That is everything from us on day 3 of the Cheltenham Festival 2024 preview. So again, big thank you to Andrew and today for all of their hard work, to our sponsors BetMGM, to you for watching. One more day to go. It's Gold Cup day. Make sure you say exactly where you are.